What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy CamATL, and welcome back to another final look video. This is for week 9. As you guys know, in the beginning of the week, we came together. We put a lineup together off of kind of initial gut reactions of the slate. Put a first look lineup together. Pretty much just talked about the guys we were putting into the first look. Now, in this final look, we go position by position and talk about pretty much all of our player pool. I mean, at least I'll talk about all of my player pool and talk about who I'm really interested in and the guys that you should really, be looking at. Thank you guys for joining me as always. Drop a like down below if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And make sure you comment down below in the comment section who you think will be the highest scoring player on DraftKings and their point total for a chance to win $100. Whoever gets that right, I will be PayPaling $100 that day. All right, so congratulations already in advance to whoever gets that right. Thank you guys for watching as always. At Cam_ATL to follow me on Twitter. By the way, a new announcement. I will be starting to do box breaks for sports cards. As you guys know, I had the partnership with Superior Sports Investments. Because of that partnership, I'm able to get my hands on exclusive boxes for card people. I'm able to get my hands on exclusive boxes pre-release or really early release date of these boxes, and going to be able to open them with my people. I will be selling off spots. It'll be 8 division for the 2020 Illusions football box that is coming out, I believe, on the 12th. That is a really nice box, super expensive. So I'm going to be selling off spots. I'm going to do random divisions. Okay, so I'm going to have 8 people come in. You guys can buy spots for that. I'll be announcing more information in a few days, but we'll have 8 spots available. So 8 people will be able to get in on that. There's going to be autographs and all types of cool stuff in these boxes. So definitely make sure you're able to, try to be a part of that. Only 8 spots is available. So 8 spots available. So follow me on Twitter at Cam_ATL for when I announce those spots, and so you can go grab one. All right, so let's go ahead and get straight into this final look. At quarterback. Now, first, before we actually get into it, let's talk about who we have out so far. All right, so out of the bigger names, I'm expecting Chris Godwin to be out. We already have Tevin Coleman out. We already have Carlos Hyde officially ruled out. I'm expecting, like I said, Chris Carson. I'm expecting Chris Carson to miss. I'm expecting Miles Sanders to miss. Kenyon Drake to miss. Calvin Ridley to miss. That's a big one. I'm expecting him to miss, but that's just as of right now. Things could change, but keep an eye on that. Austin Hooper to miss, so Atlanta's missing. Oh, well, sorry. Austin Hooper's on Cleveland now, but Atlanta's missing Calvin Ridley. That's a big deal. Kenny Golladay to miss. I'm expecting him to miss. Chris Godwin. Anybody else worth mentioning that I'm expecting to miss? That's about it. That's it. Russell Gage should play for Atlanta, so that's good, seeing that Calvin Ridley should miss. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the slate. Starting off at quarterback, as I did in the beginning of the week, I still do. I absolutely love Josh Allen. I don't see a way where you can't, where you don't. Like, I don't see how you can not like Josh Allen, honestly. I mean, Allen is at home in Buffalo, going against this horrible Seattle secondary. I mean, it just feels so good. Now, the beginning of the year for Allen was amazing. First 3 games, 33, 37, 36 DraftKings points. But the last 5, he's been kind of mediocre. 25, 18, 16, 20, 13. This is a get-right spot. He's going to drop over 30 here. I'm calling it now. He's going to get that 35 spot or so. It's going to be one of the higher scores of the season for him. It's a fantastic matchup. I love Josh Allen against Seattle, and yeah, that hasn't changed at all. My love for him has not changed whatsoever. Let's talk about my boy, who I've been stocking up this dude's rookie cards, Justin Herbert. Absolutely legit. Going against Las Vegas. There is projected to be 22 mile per hour plus wind at game time here, so that does downgrade the pass game. But I wanted to mention Herbert because he is cheap. He's 6'8", and he's going against Las Vegas that just gave up almost 40 to Tom Brady, gave up almost 34 to Patrick Mahomes. But Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league. So can Herbert get 25 or more, though? Yes. At 6'8", I like him. Keep an eye on the wind. I do like Josh Allen the most. The wind does bother me a little bit if it is going to be 22 mile per hour at game time. That does downgrade the pass game and does heighten up some of the run game, Joshua Kelly and that. So pay attention to that. But yeah, I like Herbert. Another guy that I like is Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's going against Jacksonville. Secondary is bad. Justin Herbert, who we just talked about, almost dropped 42 against them. Deshaun Watson earlier this year, week 5, dropped almost 30 against them. Now he gets to face them again here. I love this situation for Deshaun Watson. It's a beautiful spot for him. I think he's going to smash. Jacksonville's secondary is horrible, and I think this game should also stay fairly close. I mean, obviously, as we know, we have this other Jacksonville quarterback coming into play, so we're not having Minshew. What was his name? If I can find the dude, I went over him. I'll look for him. Anyways, we have this other kid starting, Jake Luton. Jake Luton is starting for them. Honestly, as a value guy, he's a decent option at 4.9. Him, and if Matthew Stafford ends up not being able to play, obviously you're going to have some great value there too with guys like Chase Daniel. Okay, so pay attention to that situation. If Stafford misses, Chase Daniel and Jake Luton, both of these guys are solid value guys if you want to spend down this week. Okay, but outside of the spending down, I do like Drew Lock as well at Atlanta, but I'll talk about him a little bit more. Let me go back to talking about this Watson situation. So I'm thinking this game should stay fairly competitive, even with Luton in there, however you say his name, Luton. Deshaun Watson, just, he's a solid quarterback in general. He's going to get you about 30 yards rushing and then add another 300 plus yards in the air here against Jacksonville. So he's solid. I do like Josh Allen more, though, at 100 less, but to get off of more a higher owned Josh Allen to a lower owned version, it would definitely be like Deshaun Watson is definitely interesting to me for sure. All right, now let's talk about Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray gets to go against a Miami team that's been putting some points up and being competitive. Now, their defense has been really solid the last 3 weeks. All right, but 2 of those quarterbacks was Garoppolo and Flacco. All right, outside of that, I mean, they did a solid job against Russell Wilson, which was surprising, held him to 25. But Kyler Murray, I mean, he could do so much with his feet. At 7.8, I'm not going to have a bunch of him. I would rather just spend a little bit more and just go Mahomes, who you pretty much know is a lock for 30. So yeah, I would rather go Mahomes in that situation. So anyway, so really I'm staying around my favorite quarterback would be Josh Allen, number 1. All right, outside of that, I like Herbert and Watson. Those guys right around this low 7K, high 6K range. I really, really like those guys. And then if Stafford misses, I'm really going to like his replacement. Okay, I'm really going to like his replacement if he ends up out, because that matchup against Minnesota is bomb. So Chase Daniel will be a good option. I'm hearing that Stafford and his family have tested negative multiple times, so he might be able to play this week. But either way, it's a solid option. And Stafford is in play. If he's cleared and able to play this week, Stafford is definitely in play against Minnesota in a dome. It's definitely a good spot there. But yeah, another guy, let's talk. So if you're not spending for this part and you're wanting to save some money, there's plenty of save down options, honestly. And we start with Daniel. If Stafford is out, Chase Daniel. All right, that's first and foremost going against Minnesota. Solid option. Whoever's quarterback there is going to be a good option. Next up, Jake Luton, all right, starting for Minshew, at home in Jacksonville. This dude is a solid option against Houston. Houston's been giving it up the last 3 weeks to quarterbacks. I think this game ends up staying competitive. And he's only 4.9. Another guy that I want to talk about, one of my favorite values, is probably Drew Lock. Drew Lock gets to go against Atlanta in a dome. In Atlanta's secondary is bad. I really like this spot here. I think Atlanta's going to get the W again because we're just unstoppable right now. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Drew Lock is a solid option. I like his price. He's a very nice option against Atlanta. All right, so that's pretty much running back. Let's go wide receiver. We just spent 10 minutes on running back pretty much. All right, on quarterback. Let's go running back real quick. Started off at the very top, my boy Dalvin Cook. At home in Minnesota. I mean, he is my favorite running back this week going against Detroit. I mean, the matchup is just beautiful. This Detroit defense is not going to be able to stop Dalvin Cook, plain and simple. Especially if Matthew Stafford is out. I'm thinking this game could possibly get even more in Dalvin Cook's favor game script-wise. It's the same type of situation as last night, for example. We did really good in the showdown. Majority of ownership was not on McKinnon. It was on Hasty. Now, the problem with that thinking is that anybody with common sense knew Green Bay was going to get up in that game and get up pretty well and the game script was going to be San Francisco playing from behind. What does that mean? That means they don't run between the tackles as much. They throw the ball a lot more. Who is the pass catching back on San Francisco? Jerick McKinnon. And look what ended up happening. McKinnon ended up having a solid game. Hasty was a bust. Okay, and I'm not exactly sure who put people on Hasty. But either way, it is what it is. But same kind of situation, okay? When it comes to your running backs, you want a running back that is at home preferably. All right? You want them at home. Solid matchup. Obviously, you want the matchup to be there. You don't want to play a running back against Pittsburgh most of the time or Baltimore, nothing like that. All right? And then game script. You want to look at game script. You want to try as hard as you can to predict what you believe will be the outcome of that game, how you believe the game script will go. Sometimes you'll get it wrong, and that's okay. All right? But sometimes when you get it right, it could be huge for you. Now, when it comes to running backs, you want to project a game script where that running back's offense gets up, even by a touchdown or two. That way they're throwing less and they're burning the clock more and running between the tackles more. Okay? Now on DraftKings, falling behind is okay for running backs because you can get, as long as they're a pass catching running back, you got to know these guys too. You got to know if they catch passes or not, if they get targets in the pass game. Dalvin Cook is a guy that if they were to fall behind, he'll get some targets. If they get ahead, he's just going to run a shit ton. So either way, Dalvin Cook's going to see his. But I just wanted to make my point on that. It's very important to me that you guys understand exactly, because seeing Hasty's ownership as high as it was last night, I kind of wanted to reiterate, make sure at least my people who watch me kind of get a better grasp on how to handle running back and not just go off of what you just hear people just spewing out of their mouths when they don't really know sometimes. All right, next thing, James Conner. James Conner obviously has a beautiful matchup going against Dallas. Really, really love that situation for him, man. I think it's going to be, I mean, look, speaking of game script, I'm expecting Pittsburgh to get up here in this one. It's in a dome. I'm expecting Pittsburgh to get up in this one and do a lot of running. I'm expecting 20-plus carries out of James Conner. This matchup against Dallas is a good one. Antonio Gibson dropped almost 22. Kenyon Drake had a coming-out party, almost dropped 32. James Conner's in a fantastic spot here at 6'9". He is definitely in play as well. Another guy, I've been going against Houston for a long time when it comes to running backs to play. All right, running backs to play are, I mean, one of the better matchups in the league is against Houston. All right, plain and simple. Now, James Robinson has his moments where he has shown crazy upside, just like last week against the Chargers. I wasn't expecting that big of a performance last week, to be completely honest with you. But they fed that dude. Finally got over 20 carries for the first time of the year. He got 2 touchdowns, 119 rushing yards. This is a solid guy. Because not on top of the fact, if they're going to feed him 20-plus carries, which, by the way, with Minshew out, they might lean on the run even heavier. So keep that in mind. If they're going to give him 20-plus carries against Houston, one of the worst run defenses in the league, and then he's also going to see targets in the pass game, especially with this guy Luton trying to just check down a lot. Minshew, with Minshew out, this guy coming in, he's probably going to look for checkdowns a lot. And that, what does that mean? Dump offs to the running back. So I think James Robinson is super sneaky here. If he ends up being low owned, I love him to be in the possible takedown lineup. Robinson, it would not be surprised me to see him just dominate. All right, let's talk Josh Jacobs real quick. Josh Jacobs is questionable to play. He missed practice on Thursday. I'm expecting him to play. Keep an eye on it, obviously, but I am expecting him to play. Josh Jacobs' workload in the last game was super encouraging. Yes, he only ended up getting 15, but that's because he somehow didn't get in the end zone after rushing for 128 rushing yards on 31 carries. All right, that workload is fantastic for cash games. Okay, if he's going to get another 20-plus, 25-plus carries, this is a solid spot. He has almost gotten 25-plus carries in all games but 3 this year. So they want to feed him the ball. Jerome Robinson just smashed this Charger team for almost 35. Like, obviously, look, this is a great spot for Josh Jacobs at 6'3", and he gives you some spend down from those other 3 guys that I just talked about. All right? Now, Chase Edmonds, I talked about in the beginning of the week. I don't think it's as much of a must-play situation as it was in the beginning of the week, solely on because we have options like Dalvin Cook, James Conner, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, even David Johnson, Justin Jackson. There's some solid running back options this week that I don't think it's as much of a must, but I do love the fact that Chase Edmonds is a pass catching back, a guy that gets good targets in the pass game. He just got 7 targets last game. He's going to get more carries than ever before here. I think I'm still very highly on him. He is top 3 in my running backs, and most of the time, you guys know me, I like to play 3 running backs. I like to go 2 running backs at the running back spots and then a running back at flex most of the time. Now in GPP, you can go wide receiver at flex because wide receivers have so much upside potential, like your 50s that Devontae Adams can drop for you, or Tyler Lockett's. But Chase Edmonds is a fantastic option. He's going to get plenty of run here. Miami's defense has been doing okay. He's at home in Arizona. Kenyon Drake is out. The situation is just amazing for Chase Edmonds here. I mean, the dude already gets targets in the pass game pretty heavily, and this is DraftKings full point PPR. And no Kenyon Drake, so he's going to see more between the tackles. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to hate Chase Edmonds at all. So I definitely like him. If I had to choose between Chase Edmonds and James Robinson, that would be a very tough decision. But those 4 guys are right there. I'd probably lean Edmonds solely on the fact that he's getting the injury bump. He's at home in Arizona, and he gets targeted in the pass game a little bit more. But Dalvin Cook, James Conner, James Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Chase Edmonds is my core at running back that I want to play this week. Let's move on to wide receiver. All right. So, starting off at wide receiver, first and foremost, my favorite quarterback is Josh Allen. What, in fact, does that mean? That means that I want to pair him up, and Stephon Diggs is my favorite guy to pair him up with. Now, if you need to save some money, I completely understand saving from Diggs and pairing him up with Cole Beasley, or pairing him up with, there's other guys that you can obviously pair him up with. So, John Brown. So you could go John Brown, Beasley, or Stephon Diggs. My preferred is Stephon Diggs if you have the money, obviously, because Diggs has the most upside. Cole Beasley is fine. He's only 5'4", gets you that pairing. That's a solid pairing as well. But yeah, Stephon Diggs is one of my favorite receivers this week. I feel like he could absolutely dominate this week and could be a slate breaker. He's been super, super consistent. But with that being said, right after Diggs, let's talk Julio. No Calvin Ridley is going to be a huge deal for Julio Jones. Okay, Calvin Ridley's been getting 10-plus targets per game. All right? With Ridley being out, see, first and foremost, Diggs is in a fantastic matchup spot. He's not getting an injury bump, though. Okay, so solely off matchup, Diggs is my favorite play. Now, when it comes off bump in general, in probable usage, Julio Jones in this position against Denver is just fantastic with no Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones, Russell Gage, these guys are fantastic options this week going against Denver's secondary. With Ridley out, there's a lot of targets to go around. Expect Matt Ryan to lean heavily on Julio Jones and look to him early and often in this game. And I think this is going to be a huge game for Julio. I wouldn't be surprised to see a remake of like Week 6 against Minnesota where he dropped 36. I'm expecting 30 or more out of Julio. So him and Diggs are my overall favorite receivers. But you have to like guys like, if you go Watson, you have to like Brandon Cooks. You have to like how much he's been getting looked at lately. I mean, the dude's had 3 solid games. 12 targets week 5, 9 targets week 6, 9 targets week 7. He's been heavily targeted. Now he gets to go against Jacksonville. So if you're playing Deshaun Watson, pair him up with Brandon Cooks, who seems to be his favorite receiver pretty much right now. All right? Now, outside of that, let's see what else we got. We got Keenan Allen at 7K as a solid option. We know how much Herbert's going to look to Keenan Allen. Obviously, pay attention to the wind, but even if the wind is strong, they're going to find ways to get Keenan Allen the ball. Keenan Allen at 7K is fine. Point per dollar, I might lean Brandon Cooks a little more, especially if you're going Watson. But if you're going Herbert, go Allen. It comes down to what decision you make at quarterback for the pairing. All right. If you want to be really GPP, pairing Matt Ryan with Julio Jones is interesting because the matchups there against Denver, it's in Atlanta, in the Dome, at home in a dome. You guys know how much I love that. So yeah, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones are going to connect a ton. So in GPPs, I love that pairing. That's probably one of my favorite pairings for GPP because it's probably going to be low owned. Let's talk Marvin Jones. With Kenny Golladay out, Marvin Jones is a major guy here. I like him in another option as well, and I'll talk about him. I talked about him in the first look, obviously, but Marvin Jones probably going to see a lot of Chris Boyd. Chris Boyd gave up almost 37 to Julio Jones, 26 to Will Fuller. Marvin Jones is not Julio Jones or even Will Fuller, but he is going to get some solid targets here, and he is a red zone target for Matthew Stafford especially. If Stafford's not the quarterback, I downgrade Marvin Jones, obviously. But I'm expecting Stafford to probably get cleared. Keep an eye on it, but because he's tested negative so much lately, I think he should be able to play, and that's going to help Marvin Jones. So Marvin Jones at 5-1 is definitely a solid option. What other wide receivers do I want to talk about? Let's talk about Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is an absolute stud going against Tennessee. The matchup is there. They gave up almost 28 to Will Fuller, gave up over 23 to Stephon Diggs, over 17 to Juju Schuster. Robinson is there. The matchup is there. It's a solid position for him. It's in Tennessee, so I don't love that. And there's other options right there. You got Tyler Lockett at $100 more, especially if you're going Josh Allen paired up with Diggs or something. Run back with Tyler Lockett seems understandable. Look, this Seattle offense goes back and forth. They go Lockett one game, Metcalf one game. Lockett one game, Metcalf one game. Metcalf's game was last game. This is Lockett's game. Plain and simple. Lockett's going to dominate here. That's what the flow would tell you. It's like they game script for one or the other every other week. So Tyler Lockett is the go-to guy here for Seattle if you're trying to get some run back. I really love that. Will Fuller, obviously, you can pair up there with Deshaun Watson if you go that route. I do like Houston's offense against Jacksonville. That's about it. Outside of that, I mean, those are my core receivers that I love. I talked about Cole Beasley. I talked about earlier in the week Marvin Hall. Love the value there at 3.8 with Kenny Golladay being out. So definitely pay attention to that as well. And pay attention to Calvin Ridley. If he does miss, Julio Jones is going to be fantastic. We'll see how it goes today in today's practice. I'm recording this early Friday, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, if Calvin Ridley misses, Julio Jones is going to be fantastic. All right, let's move on to tight end. All right, over to tight end. So first and foremost, we have to talk about the highest used tight end in the league, Darren Waller, going against the Chargers. Darren Waller has a solid matchup against the Chargers here. They've been giving it up fairly decently to tight ends. The best thing here is I think the Chargers are going to get up and the game script's going to be very pass-heavy for Las Vegas. So Darren Waller's in a solid option here. He's just super consistent. If you want a guy you know you're going to get 15 from, that's Darren Waller. All right, Noah Fant. All right, if we're just looking at matchup in general, Noah Fant. Especially if you save that money and go Drew Lock, pair Drew Lock with like a Jerry Jeudy or Noah Fant, I completely understand that. And then maybe go Julio on the other side. That's a solid GPP route. I prefer Matt Ryan, quarterback, paired up with Julio, and then maybe running it back with Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy type of thing. But yeah, Noah Fant, solid option here going against Atlanta. Atlanta's bottom in the league against tight ends, so it's a solid option. He is priced up, but the potential is there for him. And then obviously you've got the Travis Kelce, you've got the Mark Andrews that you can play any weekend, Hunter Henry. These guys are all going to be solid options. I did want to talk about that Denver tight end one more time, Akabunam or whatever. I'm way off. Akawaganam, whatever. This dude is in a solid spot against Atlanta as well, obviously. I mean, it's a solid position here. They've been running 2 wide sets, so expect him to get some run. Tim Patrick's still out of this lineup, I believe. So that's going to be good for... I think I'm expecting big games out of Jerry Jeudy. Fant, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Albert get in the end zone as well. All right. Last but not least, let's talk some defenses, and then I'll let you guys head on out. At defense, my favorite overall defense will be the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I will be trying my hardest to get them in there. Dallas's offense is struggling just really, really hard right now. Steelers' defense has been applying so much pressure. It's a very, very solid option there for the Steelers. If you want to save money, then you can do worse than the Falcons defense. I mean, I know the Falcons defense isn't great, but they've been doing better now recently since we changed coaches. Going against Denver, it's a decent option at home. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to punt a defense, you want the defense that is at home in a decent matchup, and this is a decent matchup at 2-5. So if you're punting defense, I can understand going with the Falcons, the Giants. Those are 2 solid options. And then on the other side, if you're spending up, the Steelers defense is the main way to go. And I'm going to be trying my hardest to go Steelers. Just to be completely real with y'all, I'm trying my hardest to get the Steelers in. I know they're super expensive, but if I think their potential for 20 or more is pretty solid. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, normally I don't like spending for defense, but I feel like the Steelers are a good bet to get 20 or more. And if you had a solid feeling you were going to get 20 or more out of a 4-9 player, you'd take it. So I'm going to try my hardest to do it. If I can't, I can't. It is what it is. I'm not going to force it, but the Steelers is obviously the defense that I want to lean on the most. All right. GreenlightDFS.com. Join the squad. Thank you guys for joining as always. Comment your player down below who you think is going to be the highest scoring player and their DraftKings total. Good luck. Should be a nice, profitable week 9. Started out the week with a nice showdown W. Let's finish it out. Let's get right back on the streak that last weekend ended. But we were going for 5 in a row last week. Let's get right back onto it. Sweep the rest of the NFL season. NBA season has been announced officially starting December 22nd. So we get an early Christmas gift. Extremely excited to do NBA, man. Excited for NBA season to be back and get almost a full season. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy with COVID and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for joining me. And I'm out. Peace.